Yeah, the next challenge statement is personalized thermal comfort for office occupants. We will start with a sharing by Jason, EST executive from Surbana Jurong Consultant, and Amit, the regional director, energy sustainability technical from WeWork will be sharing a bit more regarding what they are looking for this solution. But first, Jason, over to you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Jason, you're a bit soft. Yeah,
Is this better?
yes,
Yes,
better.
thanks, Jipeng. Hello, everyone. So I'm Jason Reeve from Surbana Jurong Consultants, and we're going to be discussing how can we develop an office-wide system to provide personalized thermal comfort for occupants. Okay, next slide. So you're probably aware that in many offices for a long time now, there's a blanket approach to regulating temperature. And, it sucks to be you if you're directly under one of the fans there. And there is a theory of adaptive thermal comfort where people will wear a few more layers of clothes to be more comfortable, or take a few more off as socially acceptable to be a bit more comfortable if it's warmer. But here in Singapore, it's the aircon, which is providing a challenge for a lot of people. And we're not all the same. So, men tend to be feeling a little bit warmer in certain situations than women. But of course, we all share this office space. So how can we get thermal comfort to the individual level? So the current practice is typically in Singapore to set the temperature at a colder range. And that would mean you're providing more cooling load, so therefore there's a higher energy consumption. Okay, next slide please. So, what we feel is the value proposition here is good thermal comfort, allowing occupants to really improve their productivity at work. Okay, less sick days and more productive days when they are at work. And how can we work and even integrate with existing ACMV systems? How can we monitor the present and the state and even the opinion of those occupants? How can they have some element of control over their immediate environment? And how can we empower them, I suppose, to adjust airflow rate, direction, and so forth? Next slide, please. So let me just refocus now. Surbana Jurong, you probably all know, consultants here in Singapore doing M&E, architecture, design. And we have the SJ campus, which is currently being built, and TOP sometime at the end of this year. And we have the largest underfloor air distribution in a commercial office system. It's a commercial office environment in Singapore. So we're just looking to see how can we integrate the solution into the underfloor air distribution setting in particular. Okay, next slide. So, okay, we're already saving about 15% on energy savings compared to a typical ceiling supplied air conditioned mixing ventilation. So we're already quite confident that we're saving energy by having an underfloor air distribution system. But can we go further? Can we empower our workers in the office to control their ventilation? And can we go even beyond that 15%? Next slide, please. So what other questions do we have? do personal thermal comfort devices successfully satisfy the users? How does an individual personal device impact his or her neighbors in the environment? What flexibility in the office, given that there may be remodels and moving of desks and such, what does this have in terms of the workspace solutions team on integrated personal thermal comfort devices? I.e., can they work in a flexible office space? Okay, next slide. So I hope that leads quite nicely for my colleague Amit Ankaiker to talk about his perspective from WeWork. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Amit. I'm pretty sure that a majority of we work as co-sharing workspace provider. Our more than 800 locations offer a workspace where and how member need it. Whether their goal is to be closer to home, empower their distributed teams, or have a dedicated space to focus. We offer flexible terms on spaces that are move-in ready and fully equipped with amenities. Majority of the time, we lease the space a couple of floors from the base building. And having said that, the base building comes with a centralized chiller systems. If we take an example of Singapore. And the HVAC system is under landowner or the base building FM providers. The centralized chiller system has its own beauty and perks, but also it has certain limitations in terms of design. So whenever we want to design our office fit out, the limitations that we have or the challenges, we call it like it's only limited to fan coil unit or VAV systems. Therefore, we are looking for solutions for existing workplace where some customization requests probably from our enterprise clients could be, we could incorporate these solutions for the personalized thermal comfort into it. Another thing I would like to highlight is due to the COVID, a majority of us are aware that there is a leap forward for future ready solutions. And at WeWork, also we are exploring new flexible options available to business that not only helps our members experience, but also saves HVAC and specifically utility cost. Next slide. As earlier mentioned, I think we are open to the innovative ideas or the solutions. Having said that, help us to evaluate your proposals well. I would like to have these documentations prior to the pilot stage or before the test bed implementation. So what we are looking at is like sort of write-up or strategy of proposed solution and your implementation plan, what resources that you will be offering or what are your expectations from us. Also, we expect within that documentations is a case study that includes third-party measurement and verification report, some certifications if available on the thermal comfort criteria that is being met, and also the saving calculations. Lastly, is a cost analysis, project return of investment calculations. And during the test bed implementations, I mean, every innovation's success is measured based on the end users. So we would like to loop them in. So what is expected is the user's experience and their feedback of the systems, as well as their self-reported issues related to the quality and acceptance. It could be like aesthetic acceptance for their office fit-outs. And also we expect again is the third-party measurement and verifications, certifications for the criteria for a thermal comfort is being met at a test bed, and also the actual savings calculations. Next slide. Next. Yeah. So just to summarize the overall presentations, what Jason and I presented here, what is the expected outcome? Is, as mentioned on the slide itself, it should be scalable office-wide to improve the thermal comfort for all occupants at a personal level without sacrificing thermal comfort of their neighboring occupant, and help us to achieve at least 15% ECMV energy savings for our offices. So that's the end of my presentation. We are happy to receive any questions from you.
Thank you so much for sharing more regarding this challenge statement. Just to add on to Amit's presentation, so if for those information requested by Amit, do upload them as additional information on top of your proposal, and that would greatly help with your chances of being chosen for this collaboration. So we already have a question. It's from John Lim. It's quite a long question, so let me try to break it up. He just wanted to clarify. So this is personalized cooling. That your requirement is no changes to the existing aircon system, and he would like to learn whether you have any specific sites in mind to test bed the idea. For example, for Jason, the Surbana Jurong campus is quite a big campus. How will you see this idea being tested? Jason, perhaps over to you first.
Yeah, sure. I will tackle this one first, and then I'll hand it over to Amit. But yeah, so Surbana Jurong campus has the pilot and test bedding facility. We've got to think of it as a living lab, and we're already looking at a number of different technologies that are cutting edge there. You know, with respect to Surbana Jurong campus itself, it's like I said, an underfloor air distribution. So we are looking at kind of those drop-in solutions, so to speak, if they can work. With regards to the second part of that, which I'll just say again, so IoT, environmental sensor data, needs to override the BMS. I mean, override is quite a strong word, but I do see where Mr. John Lim is coming from. But yes, it definitely needs to talk to it. And there are solutions out there, which is integrating these so-called IEQ data and really doing kind of a machine learning approach with how do you you know, trend the indoor environmental quality data and account for control or a perception of control with respect to a personal ventilation device, for example. Okay, Amit, if you've got something to add.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the site, the first part of the questions, internally we are still discussing with my couple of colleagues who looks after the product side. But of course, we will find a solution for it where the test needs to be tested. Sorry, the test bed has to be implemented. Either it could be from our lab area, it could be within our HQ, or it could be at one of our member space. The second part of the question is override BMS, which is quite difficult, I would say, because the current site that I'm looking at it, majority of the time the BMS is controlled from the base building, and they need to communicate what informations that you would require from the BMS, probably a communication channels, but again, overriding the BMS could be very strong, as Jason said. We need to look into it, what parameters actually require, and communicate that to our base building or the landowners, and accordingly handle the situation.
Yep. Our next question, is there any definition of personal thermal comfort that you're ascribing to? Just to add on, how are you currently measuring personal thermal comfort? Over to you, Amit first, with the switch around the sequence editor. You're currently muted.
Yeah, the thermal comfort, yeah, I would say that is, of course, it's a challenging. We have to come up with some external definitions which is widely accepted, because it's a subjected to individual. Like I like to wear a coat in office. Someone may be having a different preferences. So having said that, we have to sit down and look into the matrix, that what exactly the thermal comfort means. But generally it's airflow, your temperature, your radiant temperature, your air temperature, those sort of things that we look into it.
Okay, Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hello. Yeah, I got nothing too much more to add or value to what Amit just said there. But yeah, we got to look at it in terms of, you know, does percentage of people dissatisfied or PMV, can this work in this context? So yeah, it's a good question, but yeah, something we need to look into given the variety of preferences.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The next question, for energy saving, what is the baseline you would be using? Jason, perhaps I'll get you to answer this question first.
Okay, so if we're talking about using Surbana Jurong as the test bed, then you know, we've got actually a couple baselines really related to the various technologies we're already employing. So you know, we would use actual data for baseline and literally do an A versus B comparison. We will be able to do that. You know, on a floor by floor basis or similar.
Amit?
Well, for us, we do have like actual utility bills with us, right? So that could be that could be a starting point of our baseline. But again, depend on the size, whether it's a per floor basis or whether it is just one area where we have like a 50 or 100 desks. So the equation has to be based on the space. Again, we have to prorate the entire utility bills for that, and accordingly, then we will decide what is the baseline.
Right. Our last question, which is from Norman. What is the priority, thermal personalization or cost saving? So what's the priority, thermal personalization or cost saving? To what extent were the occupants' engagement in terms of controlling temperature in a specific zone or office?
For us, I think the priority will be given to the thermal comfort, because that's where we want to have that our members' experience matters to us. Then the second priority will be given to the cost saving. Yeah. And what's the second part of it? To what extent will occupant engagement in terms of controlling temperature in a specific zone or office? I think within this presentation or within our statement, we have given a clear statement what we are looking at it. I can't exactly recall, but is there, Jason, do you recall one of the slides that we have given for the what occupant engagement in terms of controlling temperature, the specific zone or offices?
Yeah, I think we've covered that somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're sort of asking, okay, to what extent does the thermal comfort device satisfy the user? So that, you know, there is that element of, I suppose, almost post-occupancy evaluation, where we're looking at occupant interviews with real-time data. We're trying to kind of trend those together. I think to really get the validation.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So based on what was shared, what I would just to help answer this question, we are interested to work together with the occupants to understand how this can be managed, because we ultimately want to seek their feedback on how to better, I would say, govern and control the temperature of a specific zone or office. All right. With that, we have come to the end of for this challenge statement. So we will be proceeding to the next challenge statement.